It may, and when we look at the two treatment arms, okay, for the omalizumab, we've not seen in any of our analysis that there's really a big age difference. But many studies with OIT have suggested a better outcome in the very young children. And the outcome is really in two pieces. One is that it may work better. And the second is that younger kids may have lesser side effects than older children or adolescents. So there could be a distinction in terms of the recommendations made to a family based on the age of the patient. We also know that the OIT process where you're having to eat, the food every day, just in and of itself may be more difficult as children get older. And while, the parents may more easily convince their 3, 4, 5-year-old that we're going to eat this every day, that can become much more challenging when you get into, say, 13, 14, and 15-year-olds who just get really, really tired of the therapy. And they get even more tired of it if they just have minor side effects, just like my belly hurts a little bit every time I do it, and I really don't like it anyway, and I really, really want to stop. So there are some, I think, implications sort of initially, but also kind of long-term, because we do look at both of these treatments as long-term, as in we know that once you stop omalizumab, the protection will wear off over the next 2 or 3 months, and you'll be back to where you were at the beginning. And we also know that with OIT, for most people, the protection will disappear after 2 or 3 months if you don't continue the, pretty close to daily intake. It's actually quite different for different foods. And part of the maintenance comes down to what your long-term goals are. So there's definitely a big tolerability issue. But in addition, we do see, as we use these treatments in clinic, that the goal of the family may be very, very different for one food versus another. And if a patient is being treated, say, for peanut, cashew, and walnut, where in most instances, there's not a big desire to actually eat a lot of that food, they may tend toward lower doses because it's less cumbersome. And if it is more like milk, egg, and wheat, they may really be pushing harder for the goal of being able to introduce the food into the diet. And that'll come forward in the stage 3 outcomes, where it's not just eating the food powders, it's actually being able to introduce the food into the diet. And we showed in one study previously of the first group of people that completed stage 1 of OUTMATCH went into the open label extension and then went on to stage 3 where they started eating the food. And we really saw that when you get into that possibility of actually eating the food, that there was a rather large difference in the goals of the family, where if you were treating for peanut, there was much more likelihood they were going to drift toward being on lower amounts because they just wanted protection from small exposures. Whereas we found with something like milk, where they really wanted to be able to have some ice cream or a piece of pizza, there was a much more of a goal of let's try to eat more of it and see how far we could get in terms of day-to-day life. So part of it is really tolerability, but part of it is the food itself. And part of it is that higher maintenance doses will give you more potential in the long term to tolerate more of that food. So there's, all these several things that kind of come into play when you're looking at those results.